There is a lot going on energetically right now. A lot is happening and it's happening very quickly, but there's also some good news. So join me in this video and I'll give you the rundown on 3 themes that are coming through for me at this time as we approach a new moon in just a couple of days and coming up on the winter solstice and the end of this calendar year. I'm going to give you my read for the next couple of weeks and all the way in through the end of the year. So join me inside the video. Hi, my name is Valerie. I'm an intuitive energy healer, a spiritual coach, and I help people who have experienced trauma, and particularly childhood trauma, to convert from a life that is surviving to actually thriving. And in this video, what I want to share with you is 3 things that are coming up, things you need to know about the next couple of week period as we move into a new moon and then the waxing phases up to the full moon. So the first theme that's coming through for me right now is coming full circle. You may have experienced this in your life, that we tend to experience something and re-experience it. People think of it as being stuck in a pattern or stuck in a rut. What my interpretation of this is that it's an opportunity. It's all about how you frame it. It's how you narrate your own story. Be the narrator of your own story instead of saying, oh my God, why am I doing this again? Say, oh, here comes that story again. What can I learn from it? The things that are repeating patterns are lessons that keep presenting themselves to us because it's something we need to learn. Let me give you an example from my own life. I've been on a spiritual journey for 10 years, give or take, and I have repeatedly run into this pattern of feeling very drawn and attracted to something, and at the same time, like the closer I get to it, the more scared I am, and I always wind up running away and retreating. For me, this takes the form of Buddhism. I've read about Buddhism, I've gone to Buddhist temples, I've engaged in Buddhist ceremony, not a lot, but once in a while, because every time I do, it brings up issues from my childhood that are really triggering. So for those of us with childhood trauma, those of us who are highly sensitive or empathic, these types of events that come around and around again can be very triggering. But if you practice being mindful of your thoughts and your responses and how you react to things, we can move past it. I like to think of it not so much as a circle that we're going around and around and around in the same pattern, is that you're ascending in a spiral. And each time you come around and you brush up against that issue again, is another opportunity to learn even deeper from it. If you watch my channel, a few videos ago, I basically came out of the closet as a witch. My parents were Wiccan, I was raised Wiccan. As many teenagers do, I really rejected it and everything my parents believed in and stood for and tried to teach me hardcore for like probably a good 30 plus years until I began to have my spiritual awakening. So I have been working on being open and honest and authentic and owning like my power as a manifester, as a healer, as a witch. Like I can own that without having to also take on the negative aspects of what I saw, what my parents were doing. Part of this, it's all tied up for me around the issue of reincarnation. I was raised, not like most people in this country, I was actually raised believing in reincarnation. And this is where Buddhism comes in for me. I feel that I lived a past life as a Buddhist monk. You know, there have been probably millions of them, so chances are, that's not unlikely. I could have been a Buddhist monk. And it really, really resonates. Everything about Buddhism, everything they teach, everything I've read and I've learned is very, very attractive to me. But reincarnation is fundamental to Buddhism. Like, you can't have Buddhism without it underlies the whole thing. And there's a piece of the reincarnation story from my parents that I had taken on. It had been imprinted on me at a very, very early age, which is the idea that in a previous life, I was some sort of something amazing, and that I was reincarnating into this life at this time to be what my parents called the Aquarian avatar. This could be like an entire, I don't know, 2-hour podcast or video or something, but just to brush against it lightly, is basically I had equated in my mind that if I believe in reincarnation and I believe that I'm a Buddhist monk, that somehow that means I had to believe what my parents did, that I'm the reincarnation, like basically the second coming, the chosen one, the Aquarian avatar, the new Messiah, a bodhisattva in Buddhism. And this has come up again this past week. It was very difficult for me, but there was a group of visiting Buddhist monks from a Tibetan monastery in exile in India. They come to the US and do tours here every couple of years. And I've gone to events and been in ceremony with them before. And I'm like, oh, I'm so drawn to, but I'm so scared. And I would never talk to them. I would never approach them. I would basically, kind of have an emotional meltdown and get triggered and have it's a very difficult time, which for me, I go into hiding. I retreat and withdraw, and I don't go out, and I get depressed. And that's my old pattern up until now. What was different this time is the Buddhist monks that were on their tour, and they came and spent an entire week in residence at the spiritual center where I am a member and practitioner. And so I felt very, very comfortable, very at home. And also, there was a very small group of people that were coming to the nightly and daily events. Before, when I had gone, it was in a different place I didn't know, and I didn't know the people, and there was like 30, 40 people. So I felt really, really comfortable. And when I became aware that they were offering one-on-one healing sessions, I really knew that I wanted to have that one-on-one time with the head lama, but I didn't need a healing session. I needed to talk to him. And so I talked to the lady that books their sessions, and I told her what I wanted. And I said, I'll pay for the healing session, but I just want to talk to him. And I was able to sit down and ask questions and get them answered. And I think it was cumulative because we were doing healing sessions all throughout the entire week. And then I had this conversation with them on Saturday through an interpreter. And I felt such a relief, such a release of this fear, this like crippling, cringing, horrible, horrible fear. It's what I call a core wound. This implant, this imprint from my parents that somehow that I have to become like the savior of the whole frickin' world has informed my choices and decisions ever since I was old enough to decide to leave home, which I did at the age of 17. And so it's a core wound. It's something that has informed my life, and I need to be done with it. And this energy that we're in right now as we're approaching this new moon it's hugely powerful. There was a few days there last week as I was recovering from this week-long intensive spiritual cleansing and healing, where I was truly like, what the fuck. But then I realized, no, this is good. This core wound is being brought to the surface so that I can finally release it. This is what has kept me from moving forward in my life as a healer, as a teacher, as a spiritual coach. It's the fear that if I really allow myself to be all I can be, that somehow I will lose free choice. That it's this idea of that I got from my parents of being chosen. Like when you are chosen, you don't have a choice. And this is also really beautiful that it ties in. What I realize is that this is the message that the Buddhists, they talk about the middle way. It's not all or nothing. It's not, I can believe in Buddhism and reincarnation and my spiritual power, and then I have to believe everything my parents taught me. Like, I don't have to choose one way or the other. I can know what I know from my own authentic experience, my spiritual experiences that I've had. I can know these things, I can own these things, and I don't have to believe the bullshit that my parents laid on me. That was their crap, and I can let it go. So this is huge. If you're experiencing something similar to this is what the energy in the planet right now is supporting, is coming full circle back around to this core wound. Now, depending on where you are in your journey, this might be new. You might be saying like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna die. Like, I remember when this came up early in my spiritual journey, the first time this came up like 8 or 9 years ago. Like, I remember sitting in the garage in my house in Fargo Moorhead, and like literally like screaming, bawling and screaming uncontrollably. Like I felt like I was gonna die. My inner child was freaking out, you know. If this is a new experience for you, know that this is part of the process and you can trust the process. It's a healing process. And just bringing your awareness to this, just recognizing that this is a core wound. This is going to take some layers. It's like you've got to peel the onion, baby. One piece at a time. Every time you come around the spiral, you're going to brush up against this. It's like there's a nail sticking out of the wall, and every time you walk by, it snags you. It snags you and it snags you. But every time you circle around, you're taking it a level higher. So first step would be just to bring awareness to it and bring compassion to it. Know that it is your inner child that is freaking out, and give yourself the loving, compassionate care that you need. And look for the middle path. Where are you assuming that something is true? Like, well, if I believe this, then I have to take this with it? Not necessarily the case. Number 2 on my list is we have a solstice coming up, and as you can tell, it's already like the days are short, man. It's hard to find time to get everything done. So we're entering the darkness of winter. My dear friend in Minnesota talks about going into the tunnel. Like there's a period of time, so the days get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. If you're in the northern climate, we're talking periods where it's almost completely dark all the time. And this is what is happening in an energy level, on a soul level as well. The word Soul-stice means, S-O-L refers to the sun, solar. Stice means stopping point. So it's really the earth, of course, that's traveling around the sun, but from the earth viewpoint, the sun appears to move to the south, and its height in the sky is lower every day, and the days get shorter until December 21st. And then it pauses. It stops for a moment. And then it gradually begins to come back. The days get a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. This is what I want to call a soul-stice, S-O-U-L-stice. It's a soul stopping time. Energetically, there's been so much that has happened in the last year. There's been so many what the fuck moments with the energy and things coming up and things being revealed. This is a time to stop. This is a time to go within, to recognize all the work that we've been doing, all of the changes that have unfolded, all of the healing and releasing that's been done. And sit quietly in the darkness, in that internal place of deep inner stillness, and replenish your soul. Even the earth lies fallow in the winter. It needs to rest. So I'm saying for the next 21 days until we're past the solstice, spend some downtime, spend some time with yourself, spend some time in the dark, look at the night sky, light a candle and do a candle flame meditation. Give yourself the rest and replenishment that your soul needs. This is what this energy is supporting. Number 3, I wrote down the thin veil. The veil is a reference to the separation between the physical manifest world and the spiritual or ethereal world. There's a lot of different beliefs around this. One being about October 31st, before it was co-opted by the powers that be in religion. October 31st was revered as the time when the veil is thinnest. What I am finding is that the veil has been getting increasingly thinner. The separation between form and energy, between our 3D life and our spiritual life, it's been getting thinner and thinner for some time. This has been accelerating all year, and especially since October 31st, November 1st. And you may, and I suspect you are, if like me, you are a highly sensitive person, an empath, a light worker, somebody who's attuned to these energies, probably becoming aware of messages from the other side. They may take different forms. They certainly do. They take different forms for different people. For me, it's often visual images. Sometimes I get sensations, also dreams. So as we're going into this period for the next several weeks, just be aware. Spirit is speaking, and it will speak quietly. If you take this downtime, if you give yourself this downtime and go within and just listen, just be attuned to it, just be receptive, you will find that there are messages coming through. There are spirit guides on the other side. There are loved ones. There's angels and ancestors. And they are here to help and to guide us. You may notice as you start to tune in and pay attention to this, you may notice an increase in signs and synchronicities. An example of something along these lines that's been happening for me is I have, since November 1st, been very aware of the presence of my mother's energy. Spiritually, she's present. She shows up in my dreams. I did an offering, an altar for her on Halloween night, and she came to me the following morning as I was just waking up, so in that kind of liminal area between sleeping and waking, and she had a message for me. And without getting too long and involved with it, it had to do with beads. I make semi-precious gemstone bead jewelry. I make mala necklaces, I make bracelets, I infuse them with energy for certain purposes and intentions of healing and support. And she came through with this message about blessed beads. And I thought, oh, well, that makes sense. She's an artist. She's like encouraging me and in supporting me to do this creative thing that I do. I think of it like just a hobby, but she's encouraging me to do more of that. So maybe I should do more of that. And then again, coming full circle, a whole month later, over a month later, here just a week before last, the monks showed up at my spiritual center. I kind of, a bit sort of aware mom's around and mom's working with me and giving me messages and guidance, but the mala beads are part of this healing that needed to take place for me around reincarnation in Buddhism. And I did not know that these monks were coming to my spiritual center. I did not know they were coming until I sat down a week ago Sunday, and they were like the whole front row in front of me during service was full of Buddhist monks. I'm like, what? Not just any Buddhist monks. These are Tibetan Buddhist monks from the monastery of the Dalai Lama in exile in India. And it was a wonderful week, except that it was so triggering. I really struggled through the last half of that week. And the last thing that I did before I left, before they were going to be done, I realized, and I had done this before in the past at other events, they sell things to help raise money to support their travel. And if you buy something from them, you can, if you ask, they will bless it for you. And I had bought something from them the very first day, but I hadn't thought to ask for a blessing. And then the last day, then they were going to be gone the next day. And I'm like, oh, I never got to have my thing blessed. And I thought, oh, I'll just have them blessed. And I took my mala beads off. And I walked up to the monk and I said, would you bless my bead? And as I walked away, I realized, oh, there it is again. Blessed beads. I did not know that the monks were coming. I didn't know that this transformational healing experience was coming, but my mother did. And that was her way of telling me, this is divine timing. I'm in the right place at the right time. And I not only have blessed beads that I make, I have the blessings of the Tibetan monks, and I have my mother's blessing as well. So that is all I have to share with you at this time. As always, I will put a link in the description down here. I'll put a link to my website. If you're interested in learning more about me, about the healing work or coaching work that I do, I would love to hear from you. I also want to announce, and I'm really excited about this, I just put it on the calendar Thursday. I'm going to be teaching an 8-week class in Encinitas, California. If I get enough interest, I'm going to see about trying to maybe do it like a hybrid class where I will have students in class with me, but also virtual online at the same time. Whether you're here in Southern California or online, I would love to hear from you and let me know if you're interested in being in the class. It starts, it's an 8-week class. It's 8 Wednesday nights starting February 21st from 6:30 till 8:30 Pacific time. And I'm very excited about it. It's called Tools of Intuition. It's Awakening Your Inner Oracle. It's all about intuition, the process. I teach the process that I use to tap into intuition, and also how you can use various tools to channel it. So maybe runes are your thing. Maybe a pendulum is what rocks you. Maybe you're into bibliomancy or reading the cards. We explore and experiment with a different modality each week, always using that method that I teach through meditation and attuning, bringing in your inner oracle, awakening your intuition. So if this sounds good to you, I hope you'll get a hold of me. Like I said, websites down in the description box. Until then, enjoy this new moon that's coming up in 2 days, and a happy, happy solstice to you. Blessed be.